Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe and support me. The silver glow of the moon bathed the ancient temple in a soft luminescence, casting elongated shadows that danced with the night breeze. Luna stood at the temple's edge, her once vibrant moonstone pendant now a dull relic hanging heavily around her neck. The whispers of the night carried memories of a time when she was the most revered Moonlight Priestess, her connection to the celestial forces unbreakable. But now, isolation and despair were her only companions. She gazed up at the moon, its radiant beauty a painful reminder of what she had lost. The moonlight, once a source of immense power and solace, now felt distant and cold. Luna's heart ached with the weight of her past, the traumas and failures that severed her sacred bond. The temple, nestled atop a hill surrounded by an ancient forest, was both her sanctuary and her prison. Vines crawled up the stone pillars, and the once clear reflecting pools were overgrown with lilies and reeds. The world had moved on, and so had the moon's favor, or so it seemed. As the night deepened, a rare lunar eclipse began. The moon slowly cloaked itself in shadow, and the world grew eerily silent. Luna felt a stirring within her, a faint echo of the connection she once cherished. Then, a vision unfolded before her eyes. An ethereal figure emerged from the darkness, illuminated by a halo of moonlight. It was Selene, an ancient priestess from legends told to Luna as a child. Selene's eyes bore into hers, filled with both sorrow and hope. "Luna," Selene's voice was a melodious whisper, "the shadows within you mirror the shadows upon the moon. To heal, you must embark on the moonlight purification journey. Face your inner darkness, reconcile with your past, and rekindle the bond that has been fractured." Before Luna could respond, the vision faded, and the moon began to return to its full brilliance. She was left with a choice: continue in her despair or confront the depths of her soul to reclaim her destiny. Reluctance gripped her. The thought of delving into her suppressed memories terrified her more than any external threat. Yet, a small ember of hope ignited within her, a desire to feel whole again, to serve as the beacon of healing she once was. Determined, Luna gathered her old ritual garments from a dusty chest. The silver threads were tarnished, and the fabric smelled of forgotten times. She retrieved the sacred moonlight crystals, their facets catching the light and scattering it in 1,000 directions. Each item was a fragment of her former self, symbols of a life she yearned to reclaim. Under the next full moon, Luna prepared to begin her journey. She seated herself at the center of the temple's grand hall, aligning her body with the moon's trajectory. Closing her eyes, she inhaled deeply, allowing the crisp night air to fill her lungs. She began the ancient chants, words that resonated with the very essence of the moon. As her meditation deepened, the physical world dissolved around her. She found herself standing at the threshold of a vast inner landscape, a realm where her emotions, memories, and fears took tangible form. The sky here was a swirling canvas of twilight hues, and the ground beneath her feet shifted with each step. Ahead lay the forest of shadows. Towering trees with gnarled branches twisted upward, their leaves whispering secrets of the past. A dense fog curled around the trunks, and shadows flitted just beyond her sight. Steeling herself, Luna stepped into the forest. The air grew colder, and the sounds of rustling leaves were interspersed with distant echoes of laughter and sobs at her own memories manifesting around her. Creatures formed from shadow darted between the trees, their eyes glowing with malice. They whispered her deepest fears, taunted her with her failures. "Your powers couldn't save him," a voice hissed from the darkness. "You were never worthy," another sneered. Visions of the day she lost her closest friend, Orion, flashed before her. She had tried desperately to heal him, to pull him back from the brink of death, but her powers had faltered. The weight of that failure had haunted her ever since. Tears welled in her eyes, but she pressed on, clutching the dim moonstone pendant. The shadows grew bolder, forming into specters that blocked her path. They loomed over her, feeding off her guilt and self-doubt. Summoning her courage, Luna remembered Celine's words. She closed her eyes and focused on the faint connection she still had with the moon. She whispered a prayer, allowing a sliver of moonlight to emanate from within her. The light pushed back the shadows, creating a narrow path through the darkness. Emerging from the forest of shadows, Luna found herself on the edge of the abyss of grief. The landscape stretched endlessly, a barren wasteland under a starless sky. The ground was cracked and dry, and the air was thick with sorrow. In the distance, she saw a solitary figure kneeling beside a withered tree. As she approached, she recognized the figure. It was herself, consumed by grief. The sight of her own despair reflected back at her was almost too much to bear. "Why do you torment yourself?" a gentle voice asked. Turning, Luna saw the spirit of her mentor, Elder Maya. The elder's eyes were kind but filled with sadness. "I couldn't save him, Maya. I couldn't save any of them," Luna's voice quavered. Elder Maya placed a hand on Luna's shoulder. "You carry burdens that are not yours to bear alone. Grief is a part of life, but it should not define it. You must forgive yourself." Luna sank to her knees. "I don't know how." "By accepting that not all things are within your control," Maya replied. "Your gift is to heal, but healing begins within." As Luna allowed the truth of Maya's words to settle in her heart, the barren ground beneath them began to soften. Small shoots of lunar lilies broke through the cracks, their luminescent petals unfurling. The abyss of grief transformed into a serene meadow bathed in soft light. A warmth spread through Luna's chest. Her moonstone pendant flickered, its glow slightly stronger than before. She stood up, feeling lighter yet aware that her journey was far from over. "Thank you," she whispered, but Maya's spirit had already faded. Continuing onward, Luna approached the Hall of Mirrors, a labyrinthine structure made of obsidian glass. The entrance loomed before her, and she could see countless reflections distorted by the warped surfaces. Stepping inside, she was immediately surrounded by images of herself. Each reflection showcased a different facet of her self-perception. Some showed her as frail and aged, others as monstrous and distorted. "Is this how I see myself?" she wondered aloud. The mirrors began to speak, each voice overlapping in a cacophony. Failure, imposter, unworthy, alone. Overwhelmed, Luna covered her ears, but the voices only grew louder within her mind. Panic threatened to consume her, but she recalled the blooming of the lunar lily as a symbol of hope and renewal. Taking a deep breath, she faced one of the mirrors directly. "I am more than my failures," she stated firmly. The reflection wavered, the distortion lessening slightly. "I have the strength to heal and to be healed." Another mirror returned her gaze, this time showing her as she truly is, worn but resilient, vulnerable yet courageous. The voices began to fade, replaced by a profound silence. The mirrors around her shifted, aligning to create a path leading out of the labyrinth. As she exited the Hall of Mirrors, Luna felt a clarity she hadn't experienced in years. Her moonstone pendant now emitted a steady glow, illuminating the path ahead. The landscape before her transformed into a steep incline, leading to the Temple of the Moon. The temple was a magnificent structure carved into the face of a mountain, its spires reaching toward the heavens. The final stage of her journey awaited. She ascended the winding path, each step bringing her closer to the pinnacle of her inner world. The air grew thin, and the sounds of the earthly realm faded until only the soft hum of the moon's energy remained. At the entrance of the temple stood two colossal statues of moon guardians, their eyes made of shimmering crystals that seemed to watch her every move. Inside, the temple was illuminated by beams of moonlight that streamed through openings in the ceiling, creating a celestial mosaic on the marble floor. At the center lay an altar adorned with ancient runes and surrounded by a shallow pool of pristine water reflecting the night sky. Luna approached the altar, her heart pounding. She knew that this was the moment of truth, the final trial that would determine her fate. Kneeling, she placed her moonstone pendant on the altar and began the sacred ritual. She chanted the incantations passed down through generations of priestesses, her voice steady and resonant. As the final words left her lips, The temple trembled. A shadowy figure emerged from the darkness, a mirror image of herself, but with eyes as black as the void and a smile that sent chills down her spine. "Do you think you can escape me?" The figure taunted. "I am every doubt you've ever had, every fear you've ever felt. You cannot banish me." Luna stood tall, her eyes meeting those of her dark reflection. "I don't wish to banish you," she replied calmly. "You are a part of me, but you do not define me." The shadow sneered. Weak words from a weak soul. Gathering her courage, Luna extended her hand toward the figure. "I accept you. I accept my flaws and my past. But I also embrace my strength and my capacity to change." The shadow hesitated, its form flickering. "What are you doing?" "Integrating," Luna said softly. "I am whole, and I choose to heal." A beam of moonlight enveloped them both, and the shadow let out a piercing cry before dissolving into particles of light that absorbed into Luna's being. A surge of energy coursed through her, and her moonstone pendant erupted into brilliant light, lifting off the altar and settling back around her neck. The temple transformed, the walls becoming transparent to reveal a panoramic view of the cosmos. Stars shimmered brighter, and the moon hung larger and more radiant than ever. Luna felt an overwhelming sense of peace and unity with the universe. She closed her eyes, allowing the healing energy to wash over her. The wounds of her past no longer felt like weights but like lessons that had shaped her journey. She understood now that healing was not about erasing pain but about acknowledging it and moving forward with newfound wisdom. When she opened her eyes, she found herself back in the grand hall of her temple in the physical world. Dawn was breaking, and the first rays of sunlight mingled with the fading moonlight. Birds sang softly, and the air was fresh with the promise of a new day. Her moonstone pendant glowed warmly against her chest, a constant reminder of her renewed connection. Luna felt a serene confidence she hadn't known in years. She stepped outside to greet the morning, each breath filling her with vitality. Villagers who had long avoided the temple began to approach, drawn by the subtle radiance that now emanated from it. Word spread quickly that the Moonlight Priestess had returned, her powers restored. Luna welcomed them with open arms, offering healing and guidance. She listened to their stories of hardship and loss, understanding their pain on a deeply personal level. Her own journey had endowed her with empathy and insight that enriched her abilities. As night fell, Luna conducted a ceremony under the full moon. The community gathered around her, their faces lit by both moonlight and the gentle glow from lanterns. Together, they celebrated renewal and the unbreakable bonds that connected them all. Luna looked up at the moon, a serene smile on her face. She knew that challenges would come again, but she also knew she possessed the strength to face them. Her journey of healing was a continuous one, but now she walked it with hope and purpose. In the weeks that followed, Luna settled into her renewed role with a sense of fulfillment she hadn't felt in years. The temple buzzed with life as villagers came not only for healing but also to learn the ways of moonlight harmony. She began to train a small group of apprentices, sharing her knowledge and emphasizing the importance of inner balance. One evening, as Luna guided her students through a meditation beneath the stars, a messenger arrived bearing urgent news. A neighboring village was suffering from a mysterious affliction that left its people in a deep, unresponsive sleep. No healer had been able to rouse them, and fear of a spreading curse gripped the region. Luna felt a familiar pang of concern but also a newfound confidence. Gathering her essentials, she set out at dawn with a few of her most promising apprentices. The journey to the afflicted village took them through unfamiliar terrain and dense forests giving way to rocky plains. Along the way, they encountered travelers who spoke of the sleeping sickness with hushed voices, their eyes filled with dread. As they approached the village, an eerie silence hung in the air. Homes stood with doors ajar, and livestock wandered unattended. The few villagers still awake moved like shadows, their faces etched with exhaustion and despair. An elder approached them. "Are you the Moonlight Priestess we've heard about?" he asked, his voice frail. "I am," Luna replied gently. "We've come to help." He led them to a communal hall where dozens lay motionless on makeshift beds. Their breathing was shallow, and their eyelids fluttered as if trapped in a dream. "We've tried everything," the elder lamented. "Herbal remedies, prayers, even the town sorcerer's spells. Nothing wakes them." Luna examined the afflicted, sensing a dark energy that was disturbingly familiar. It reminded her of the shadows she had faced within herself. "This is no ordinary illness," she said gravely. "It's a curse born of inner turmoil, feeding on unresolved fears and regrets." Her apprentices exchanged worried glances. "What can we do?" one of them asked. "We must enter their dream realm and guide them back," Luna declared. "It's the only way to break the curse." Preparing for the task, Luna instructed her apprentices on a ritual that would allow them to connect with the collective subconscious of the villagers. They formed a circle around the afflicted, lighting incense made from moon blossoms and chanting in unison. As the ritual progressed, Luna felt herself slipping into a trance. The physical world faded, and she found herself standing in a fog-laden landscape. The villagers wandered aimlessly, their forms translucent and flickering. She approached a young woman who stared blankly into the void. "Can you hear me?" Luna asked softly. The woman's eyes focused slowly. "Who are you?" "A friend," Luna replied. "I'm here to help you find your way back." "There's no point," the woman whispered. "We're lost in our own failures." Luna realized that the curse preyed on her personal demons, much like the shadows she had confronted. Drawing upon her own experience, she began to guide each soul through their fears, helping them face and accept their inner struggles. One by one, the villagers started to awaken, both in the dream realm and back in the physical world. The fog lifted, and the landscape brightened as hope replaced despair. Just as the last of the afflicted began to stir, a dark presence materialized, a manifestation of the collective negativity that had enslaved them. It towered over Luna, its form shifting and chaotic. "You cannot save them all," it roared. "Their doubts and fears will always return." Luna stood her ground. "Perhaps they will, but with understanding comes strength. They are not alone anymore." She raised her hands, channeling the pure light of the moon. A radiant beam enveloped the dark presence, which thrashed and howled before dissolving into nothingness. Back in the physical world, Luna opened her eyes to see the villagers sitting up, confusion giving way to relief. Tears of gratitude flowed as families reunited and the weight of the curse lifted. The elder grasped her hands, his eyes moist. "You've given us a miracle," he said. "How can we ever repay you?" "By cherishing one another and facing your inner struggles openly," Luna replied. "Healing is a shared journey." As she and her apprentices prepared to depart, the villagers offered them provisions and heartfelt thanks. The journey back to the temple was filled with lively conversations and a sense of accomplishment. Upon returning, Luna felt a deepened connection to the world around her. She realized that her path was not just about healing herself but also about empowering others to heal. Her experiences had prepared her to face not only her own darkness but also to guide others through theirs. One night, as she meditated under the full moon, a familiar presence made itself known. Celine appeared beside her, the ethereal glow outlining her serene features. "You have done well, Luna," Celine said. "Your journey continues, but you walk it with wisdom and compassion." Luna smiled. "I couldn't have done it without your guidance." "The strength was always within you," Celine replied. "Remember that the moon's light shines upon all, but it is up to each person to embrace it." As Celine's image faded, Luna felt a profound sense of peace. She opened her eyes to see her apprentices gathered around her, their faces reflecting trust and admiration. "Will you tell us about your journey?" one of them asked hesitantly. Luna nodded. "Yes, it's time you learned more about the path you have chosen." She spent the evening recounting her experiences, sharing not only her triumphs but also her vulnerabilities. The apprentices listened intently, absorbing the lessons woven into her story. Days turned into weeks, and Luna's teachings began to spread beyond the temple. Word reached distant lands, and seekers of wisdom journey to learn from the Moonlight Priestess who had faced her inner darkness and emerged stronger. One day, a delegation arrived from the capital city, bearing an invitation from the Queen. Intrigued, Luna agreed to visit the royal court. Accompanied by a few apprentices, she traveled to the bustling city, a stark contrast to the tranquility of her temple. The Queen welcomed her warmly. "I've heard tales of your extraordinary gifts," she said. "Our nation stands at the brink of war, and I seek your counsel." Luna was taken aback. "I am but a healer and a teacher. How can I assist in matters of war?" "Our enemies are consumed by anger and fear," the Queen explained. "If there were a way to foster understanding, perhaps we could avoid bloodshed." Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Luna agreed to help. She proposed a summit under the guise of a celestial festival, inviting leaders from both sides to attend. On the night of the festival, the air was filled with music and the scent of exotic flowers. Lanterns hung like stars, and a sense of wonder permeated the gathering. Luna took the stage, her presence commanding yet gentle. She spoke of unity, of shared struggles and common dreams. "Just as the moon undergoes phases but remains the same celestial body, so too are we bound by our humanity despite our differences," she proclaimed. Her words resonated deeply. Representatives from opposing sides found themselves in open dialogue, their hardened stances softening in the glow of the festivities. Throughout the night, Luna facilitated discussions, drawing upon her skills to navigate the complex emotions at play. By dawn, an agreement was in place to pursue peace talks, averting imminent conflict. The Queen expressed her profound gratitude. "You have not only saved countless lives but also opened our eyes to a new way of resolving disputes," she said. Luna humbly accepted the praise. "The true work lies ahead, but together, we can cultivate a lasting peace." Returning to her temple, Luna felt a sense of fulfillment that transcended personal achievement. She had become a catalyst for change, her journey impacting not just individuals but entire communities. As the years passed, the temple evolved into a center for healing, learning, and diplomacy. People from all walks of life came seeking guidance, and Luna's apprentices grew into leaders in their own right. One quiet evening, Luna sat atop a hill overlooking the temple grounds. The moon hung low in the sky, its reflection shimmering on the surface of the nearby lake. She thought back to the beginning of her journey, of the isolation, the despair, and the transformative path she had walked since then. A rustling behind her signaled the arrival of an old friend. Elder Maya's spirit appeared, her eyes twinkling with pride. "You've surpassed all expectations," Maya said softly. "I've merely followed the path laid before me," Luna replied. Maya shook her head gently. "No, Luna. You forged your own path by embracing both your light and your shadows. That's the true essence of wisdom." They sat in comfortable silence, the bond between mentor and student transcending the boundaries of life and death. As the first light of dawn approached, Maya stood. "It's time for me to go," she said. "Will I see you again?" Luna asked. Maya smiled. "I am always with you, as are all who have touched your life." With that, she faded into the morning mist. Luna rose, feeling a deep serenity. She made her way back to the temple, where the day's activities were just beginning. Children laughed as they played, and the aroma of fresh bread wafted from the kitchens. Her lead apprentice approached. "We have visitors from afar who wish to meet you," he said. "Let them rest and refresh themselves first," Luna replied. "I will see them soon." She took a moment to stand in the central courtyard, watching as the community thrived around her. The journey had been long and often arduous, but every step had led to Thesa, an embodiment of harmony between the self and the world. Looking up, Luna whispered a silent prayer of gratitude to the moon. Its soft glow was a constant reminder of the light that guides even in the darkest of times. Her heart full, she walked forward to greet the new day and the endless possibilities it held.